The COVID-19 pandemic, coupled with the cost of living and inflation, is pushing many families to move in with relatives, stay in hotels, or even live out of their cars.
And school districts across our area tell us they're seeing significant increases in children that are homeless or at risk of becoming homeless. As we take a look at the price of paradise here, ABC Action News in-depth reporter Stassi Olmos takes us to Pinellas County, where the district and community partners are on the front lines of the fight for families and their children's education.
When we think of the term homeless, we often picture adults living on the streets, not the 5-year-old child counting in a classroom.
We've had to, over the last few months, direct people to Walmart parking lots because there is just no housing available. The shelters are constantly full and Walmarts are safe.
Pinellas County Schools homeless liaison Christine Contrell says calls from families facing homelessness have gone up more than 3,000% in the last year.
We used to get 1 to 2 calls a month of families that are about to be homeless or who were absolutely street homeless. We're getting 1 to 2 and sometimes 3 a day.
These are the families that actually admit to not having a home of their own. This is defined under the National McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act as children and youth who lack a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence.
We want to make sure that students who are in these situations get that education because moving out of poverty takes education.
Pinellas County students under this act have steadily increased over the last decade. Last year, they identified 3,331 students. So far this year, 4,118. Polk County schools are in the same situation. This is the first year they expect to have more than 4,000 students without a home. Pinellas County students identified as living in hotels and motels more than doubled in the last year, from 7% to 16%. But with spring and summer approaching, even a room is getting too expensive.
A lot of families that were able to make it paycheck to paycheck prior to the pandemic, they're just having a much more difficult time now because of increasing housing costs and increased prices with groceries and gas.
We have 75 families right now that we know about with little dependent children that are living on the streets of Pinellas County. We are seeing a trend line of about 10 additional families a week. I would argue that the number is actually 2 to 3 times that number.
Shelters are constantly full, especially those with family beds, and community partners like Directions for Living are out of funds to help.
In December, we had 58 families in hotel. Now, because the funding sources are exhausted, I think we have 6, 7, 8 maybe families in hotel right now and another 75 that we know of on the streets.
We just got a call from a family yesterday that they were being evicted and they have no car. So they can't even live in their car.
PCS now has 4 full-time staff dedicated to their homeless program and a trained educator or social worker in every school. As an advocate and as an expert, what are the solutions?
We need our government and or our policymakers and our elected officials to take policy action around affordable housing. We certainly need financial assistance to get families off the streets.
They're also asking landlords to work with them, accept pandemic-related evictions and housing assistance vouchers.
There is hope. We do see a lot of families able to climb out of it and to get into housing, but it takes a village.
In St. Pete, I'm in-depth reporter Stassi Olmos, ABC Action News.
Pinellas County Schools tells us that they're also concerned about student refugees they've enrolled from Afghanistan, and they expect more to come in from Ukraine. And parents, it is important to note that the McKinney-Vento Act protects your rights. Children will not be taken away by the state for not having a nightly residence. They can only be taken away if there is abuse or neglect. You can call local organizations like the Homeless Empowerment Program in Pinellas County for help.
At worst, we can just screen them and see if they qualify for any of the programs that we have. And, if they do, that's great. We'll be able to help them. And if not, then we may be able to refer them to other programs that they do qualify for.
For a list of resources, visit our website, abcactionnews.com, and click on this article.